Well, Mike, I got one question for you this morning before we get into the subject at hand. I just want to know, are your feet nice and cozy in your new shoes?
They have been, and I plan on making a statement later on Life on Purpose about that. But to those that may not have a clue of what we're talking about here, there is a person or family who is a part of your congregation that are very faithful listeners to pretty much, I think, everything that I put online. And not only do they listen, they actually hear. And so I said something about commercialism on one of my programs, and said, the last thing I need is a pair of fuzzy bunny slippers. So if anyone would like to tune in to Life on Purpose after that comes out later, actually tomorrow, I will actually be showing my new pair of fuzzy bunny slippers.
Sloppers.
Sloppers. Sloppers. I was under the Rendersella slop my dripper.
Sloppers. Gotta give me some bunny sloppers.
Some bunny sloppers.
You know, to pick up on your commercialism theme, you could probably rebrand those, which is a good segue into a thought here from Koheleth or Ecclesiastes 1:9 says, "What has been is what shall be, what has been done is what shall be done." And then this line, "There is no new matter under the sun." Now,
Yes.
I don't know that various fast food restaurants know that to be true. They keep rebranding themselves. I remember that Hardee's and McDonald's have been carrying breakfast menus for decades. Some of the other fast food restaurants, burger joints, if you will, that have never ventured that way, have rebranded themselves over the years to stir up revenue. We now offer breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Well, McDonald's says we'll do breakfast 24 hours a day if that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've seen reports on business news of several different kinds of companies, big companies, small companies, restaurants in particular. They're trying to reinvent themselves, come up with a new model, because if they don't, they're going to go out of business.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Church has done the same thing. And to be honest, I think the Hebrew roots movement has done the same thing. We went from being Messianic Christians to returning to our Jewish roots. Now we are more often called Hebrew roots something. And now there's an effort to rebrand ourselves as Saturday Church, among other ventures and titles and rebrandings. Yet the word says there's nothing really new. In other words, we're just reinventing the wheel over and over again. Is it possible to get back to what is foundationally true without falling prey to the other grand scheme? And we want to talk about this. The Catholic Church is rebranding itself as more Protestant accepting, more universally applicable, or basically it's y'all need to just come on back home and let's all be one big happy family together again. Where is foundational truth in all of that?
Well, back to the business model, Barry, you and I saw an example of that when we were heading over to surprise, a golf store the other day. And it was Kmart. Okay. Now, Kmart became a number of years ago Big K.
Yeah.
But they still had the blue light special inside. Okay, so you can change the name on the door, But until you change what is inside, it's just going to be, the same old thing. And so this is something that I've seen happen through the last years. The Pope made a statement. This was probably at least 10 years ago, that it was time for the Protestants to come back under the tent, basically. Now, a messianic teacher again a number of years ago said this, that there are two types of Christianity today. It is Catholicism and protesting Catholicism, which actually is true because the name Protestant is about protesting. So these are people that were protesting what the Catholic Church was doing. But if you look into the denominations that came out at that time, which would be Episcopalian and Anglican and various others, it still had. I mean, basically, they took the Kmart Blue Light Special and put it into a different building with a different name, not understanding that you have to go back and deal with not just the fruit, but you have to deal with the root. In order to deal with the root, you must deal with the seed. Many churches, many Hebrew roots congregations, whatever, want to say, well, we just need to get back to the book of Acts.
No.
As they're putting the ornaments on the tree. We want to get back to the book of Acts as we're sitting down offering a blessing over the pork chops. Not understanding that you'll never get back to the book of Acts until you not only take a look at the fruit, but also the root and the seed. You have to deal with those things. Go ahead.
There is, and I don't want to unnecessarily cause anyone heart issues, but the idea of getting back to the book of Acts is error. Okay. You want to, theoretically get back to the book of Acts because that's the birth of the church, so to speak, and Acts chapter 2. Yeshua never came to establish something different and new that had never existed before.
Exactly. As Kohelet in Ecclesiastes explains, there's nothing new under the sun.
So one of my favorite verses in the book of Acts is chapter 3, verses 19 through 21. Mm-hmm. But it says in verse 21 that the heaven needs to receive Yeshua until the times of restoration of all matters, of which Elohim spoke through the mouths of all of his set-apart prophets since of old. Mm-hmm. The prophets were not prophesying, behold, a new thing is coming that has never been seen before, and it will replace everything that has been before it. What they were prophesying was repent and come back to the legitimacy of Yah's commands and walk according to his precept. The church, a misnomer in and of itself,
yes,
at least as the term goes, the called out assembly was established
the Kahal
at Mount Sinai, where Yah called Israel together and said, you are my people, a peculiar bunch, yes, but you are mine. And you are going to be a nation of priests and a set-apart nation. And to germinate, to initiate that, he gave them, of all things, the Torah, which has been sadly relegated to archaic rules and regulations that no longer apply since Messiah has come. If we want to get back to the book of Acts body of believers, you have to go all the way back to Shemot or Exodus chapter 19.
True.
You can't bypass that. So if we're going to rebrand ourselves as I remember George Bush Jr., he promoted in his campaign a kinder, gentler version of conservative thought. Well, it won him an election, but nothing changed.
No, no.
So, Mike, this idea of coming back to something that Yah called us out of because it's a feel-good message, it's the wrong place to return.
I totally agree with you in that this thing of the kahal, okay, and the word kahal is about a people that are called to the shepherd's staff. Well, where did that happen? As you said, that happened on Mount Sinai, which was to be this was the essence of the garden, and that's another subject, a people that are going to allow his light to shine in them and through them. And this is where they were given the Torah, which is a revelation of the Mashiach. So what has happened, I see through these, all of this, let me go back to my Kmart Blue Light special. Okay. If you ever remember Kmart and the Blue Light special, an item in the store that is a item of value, an item that has meaning, an item in which is something useful in a person's life, you don't have to draw attention to it. It draws attention to itself.
Sure.
So the Kmart Blue Light special was about that which could not be sold anyway. All right. You got over there and it's like, wow, they had this on clearance last week and didn't sell. So I guess, so let's make some hype over it, get some enthusiasm, get some emotion going through the Blue Light special, and maybe we can get rid of this junk. This is kind of where I see what is going on today is let's, again, rebrand everything. So we need to understand that the root of Catholicism, and as I say that, I'm not speaking against the people that happen to be in a Catholic church or a people in a Protestant church that may not have taken the time and the effort to actually study out. It's amazing to me how seemingly smart people in the world that know the history of America, the history of government, of all of those things, propagate something that is based upon a lie because they've never taken time to research that which is of utmost importance of their life, which is their following of the Creator. People will spend a multitude of time researching a political candidate, but give no effort to where they're sitting, what pew they're sitting on, and what they're being fed on a weekly basis.
Right.
So I'm not speaking against the people, but against the system. And understanding that the system of Catholicism, which is still prevalent in, I would dare say, most Protestant churches, and has continued to creep into Messianic Hebrew roots, is Jew hatred. Mm-hmm. And I can back that up with the person of Marcion. If anyone has never researched Marcion, maybe we could spend a program on that one. We don't have time to right now. But Marcion was a hater of the Jewish people in every aspect of his life. He was the first Gentile leader of the early Kahal, the congregation in Jerusalem, and was full of Jew hatred. That is the seed which became the Catholic Church and modern day Christianity.
Yeah.
The root, however, what the seed produced was a root called Catholicism. The fruit is now in denominations and non-denominations, which is still a rotten fruit, which came from a rotten seed. Your thoughts?
Do you want me to comment after that?
Go for it.
Disclaimer. I have not ever been a Catholic. I have never been inside a Catholic church, not even as just to go in and look around. Never attended Mass. I drove by a church, a Catholic church, while there were people inside of it. But I've never heard a Mass. Don't understand the whole protocols of their gatherings, services, whatever they are. So I am not speaking from an experiential vantage point.
I have never been a Catholic, but I've done all the things you said you haven't, as far as being in a Mass as a back in high school, and I've been in many Catholic churches in Europe. So
okay. That being said, I have encountered Catholic people, many of whom were very kind.
Yeah.
They're known to be very generous. They are to be applauded for their efforts and the anti-abortion, pro-life movement. I appreciate that effort. Those who follow conservative, quote unquote, news media, many of those that are your anchors and guests, they are acknowledgeably practitioners of the Catholic belief.
Most, in fact.
They, while we would agree perhaps with many of their opinions, their beliefs, just like our own, they found and shape our lives. I live my life because of what I believe to be true. If I live differently than what I say I believe, then I'm a hypocrite.
True.
Right? So the Catholic practice, the practice of a Catholic religion is founded upon a belief of replacement theology, where they replace Israel, that the Pope is the vicar of Christ, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
He is as the Messiah on earth. What he says is a papal decree, must be adhered to, which changes from one version of his office to the next. There is a lot of error in the root of their belief. I mean, you don't have to read their own dogma, their own statements, their own edicts, decrees, diets of worms, whatever it is that, the Nicene Creed. If you read that and think about what you're reading, there are going to be some issues.
Mm-hmm.
That all be understood. I am not anti-Catholic people. The system, as it is in its professional presentation, and all of those that are various turns of, there are problems. I listened to a video yesterday that was breaking down a rant by an Anglican pastor. Maybe it's priest. I don't know his official title.
Priest.
And he was highly disturbed by what he was calling house church.
Mm-hmm.
I sent you the video. I don't know if you had a chance to watch that or not. But his diatribe was basically saying that unless you are under the leadership of an apostle, part of the apostolic church, where the leadership of the apostles and elders of that congregation have a lineage from the original apostles, you're not a part of the church. You
Yeah.
can't just meet in a living room with your friends without a pastor and be in the church. And I'm thinking, is this an intimidation tactic? Are you trying to browbeat somebody into adherence of you must attend the congregation inside the building with the appropriate robed individual at the front? Yeshua never said that. Matter of fact, when you read the scriptures, they met in houses. The idea of a congregation of many thousands, Yeshua had many thousands following him. He preached one sermon and got down to his 12 and was wondering if they were going to leave.
Yeah. And one did.
And one did. So numbers do not authenticate. Process and form and buildings do not authenticate your belief. There's a lot of junk being preached to big crowds and fancy buildings.
Well, let me bring out something, and this is the essence of what I see today, in that the religion on many levels, religion as based in I mean, when I say the Christian church, I'm talking about the system that is luring people to what I believe to be, in many cases, another Messiah. Now, am I saying that everyone that's involved in that system is not saved? No, I no, but it's a lure to a different Messiah.
In which way?
Shaul said, to Galatians, you've been lured into serving a pseudo Messiah, something that kind of looks like it's kind of like the inoculation process, an immune system here. But so I'll call this one out specifically, this thing of the app called Hallow, in which there are very famous people today that are, saying to join this in prayer. Now, is prayer wrong? No. But if the essence of that is to bring people to a place of praying to Mary, praying to the saints, that is not biblical.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is, to me, they're fishing. They're trying to find people. And so when you see someone that is at the end crossing themselves, I don't even know what that means. One of these days I'm going to look that up, of the root of that. This is the essence of Catholicism, and the seed of this is going to go back to Jew hatred. Now, I saw this in a meme put out by a mutual friend of ours yesterday, of the Pope in a wheelchair. I guess it was in Bethlehem, I'm not sure, but the Pope in a wheelchair, paying homage to a nativity scene in which little baby Jesus was in a manger, and the so-called swaddling clothes that he would have been wrapped in was a Palestinian keffiyeh, the headdress, that checkered thing that is worn by sworn enemies of Israel. So here I come back to the seed of this is going to be Jew hatred.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it may have been, the greatest trick is to believe in something at your root, at the seed of who you are, the root of who you are, but make everybody believe that that's not what you really believe, until they've been entrapped in it so far that you then bring out the essence. What are you laughing at?
I'm just thinking that you bring someone to your Torah-based congregation. Uh, you're standing there and you're ready to teach, but you realize, okay, I got newcomers here today, and I'm not sure exactly how much they understand or what they are aware of, why they're even here, who brought these people, and what do they believe. Uh, do we water down? I tend to go more basic and explain a lot more as I'm saying what I intended to say all along, but I break it down a little bit more to a more basic understanding so that it's more easily grasped. But do we change our message? Do we start running and hiding stuff so that they won't be offended? You know, do we pull the curtain over the Israeli flag because that might be a problem until they understand who we support? You can't hide yourself if, and there's no need to hide yourself if what you're doing is based on truth. It is only when we have suspect theology and teaching to begin with that you begin to have to cautiously reveal who you really are. And that's called deception.
Let me take it from a different angle in what you're doing. And that is going back to a person who years ago was a mutual acquaintance of ours that had the message that they portrayed was one of following Torah, of support of Israel, of all of the things that you and I would agree on, only to find out later on that the root of their belief was polygamy.
Yeah.
Okay. And so there are people who are, oh, well, well, I guess that, I mean, they say they're supporting the Torah and they're supporting Israel. So obviously, I guess polygamy must be okay. No, it's not.
It's a
See,
problem.
why are we bringing this up right now? Because we're on the verge of a time of Hanukkah. So let me switch gears just a little bit. And I know we don't have a lot of time. Let me switch gears just a bit. Is that Hanukkah, and maybe we can handle this on next week's program. Hanukkah is a time of conviction. A
It's supposed
people
to
that
be.
were willing to die for what they believed in, which was the temple, which was the Torah, which was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They were willing to die for that. Now, nothing against what let me finish my statement here. Have we lost, or has the message of Hanukkah been lost in parties, lights, and decorations? Before you answer that, I'm going to say I do not believe, I am not speaking against parties, lights, and decorations. I mean, Laura does a wonderful job of
My
decorating.
house is blue.
I'm not going there, okay? But has the message of conviction, of living for without compromise, has that been lost to parties and lights and decorations and gifts and food and latkes and donuts and all kinds of other stuff? And is it time for us to get back to the message of Hanukkah during the season of Hanukkah?
Well, I'll finish by saying this. Again, once you determine what the truth is, there are various means and methodologies to presenting the truth. It's not always stand in front of a group and offer them an hour and a half of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone at House of David from using a 4x6 whiteboard and putting thoughts and notes up as I teach, turn around and filling up the board, and then getting ready to erase the board and people hollering, oh, no, 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 wait a minute, I want to take a picture of all of that. Then I can erase the board and start all over again. And that put up notes on the fly as I teach. And sometimes I was inspired to put something other up I had no intention of going to. That spontaneous means of teaching I have now replaced with a video monitor or a large TV screen behind me. And I've already determined where my points need to be put. And it's more of a PowerPoint style presentation. It's the same effect or the same, it's an effort to achieve the same effect. It's a different methodology. The message hasn't changed. The ability for people to see live and online and live streaming is the effort. So we can use different techniques. I can write a message in one style of song as well as in another. And there are times that I've written a song and I've tried to figure out, okay, what's the style? Is it country? Is it more contemporary? Is it more edgy? What is this? How do I play this song? How do we orchestrate it so that the message is actually heard? But to totally rebrand ourselves and change what truth is to something that is more globally, universally acceptable, to melt back into the whole of the larger crowd for the sake of saying we're now successful, we're after the wrong goal. The goal is not business model success.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is presentation of light and truth that reveals Messiah who leads us to the Father. If we're not doing that, you can't count the number of people inside your living room, basement, or building and say, see there, now we've done it. We got more people coming to House of David. I'm going to soon run out of absolutely anywhere to put anybody. And we're praying desperately for a room. If you have nothing else to pray for House of David to find a larger building. After 23 years of this one place, or 22 years, we're stuck. So, but not more people are not coming because we've changed anything. They're hungry. And they're not looking for the same thing you can get everywhere else. There's no more need for more breakfast menus in a fast food restaurant. There's plenty to go around. Do something more.
Comes down to what I taught at House of David this past weekend about the tabernacle. The form and function of the tabernacle was set in the book of Exodus from chapter 25 to 40. When the form may have changed regarding the temples, the tabernacle in Shiloh, and then the first and second temple, but when the function changed, the building was destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to say here is this: we need to get back to the function. Our form may have changed. You may have gone from a whiteboard to a television screen, but the function and the message has to be in line with the scripture.
Sure.
And if not, in the end, what will happen is that which man is portraying, God will destroy.
True.
Period.
Can't say it any better than that. Mike, thank you for being with us this past weekend. The Tabernacle Experience was a great success. Lives were touched. Testimonies were very, very profound and good, from children to adults of all ages. It was well worth the time invested. Thanks to Bridgepoint Church for allowing us to use their facility. If Mike is anywhere close in your area to make this presentation pertaining to the tabernacle, it's worth the drive. If it's a few hours, whatever it might be, it's worth the drive to go. You'll be blessed, and Mike does an excellent job at this.
Thank you.
So, well, folks, We appreciate you watching. Thank you for commenting, questioning, sharing in your social media, asking friends to watch. And we, at this point, we look forward to seeing you again next week.
There you go.
Shalom, Mike.
You too.